Hello everyone and welcome to Dice Commando's How to Play Flesh and Blood for Dum-Dums. So if you're like me, when you were going through the rulebook for the very first time, you noticed that it seems to be very much written for competitive play. There's a lot of stuff in there about who goes when, priority, and all this back and forth. And if you're someone like me who just wanted to get started and get cards on the table and started banging into each other, it seemed to be a little bit like you were trying to read a textbook to learn how to add 2 plus 2. Right? So the purpose of this video is really just a very straightforward, cut and dry, not intended for the competitive player at all, just intended really to get you right into the game. All right, so the very fundamentals of this game is I have a hero and you have a hero, and we are just going to beat the snot out of each other, and the last man left standing wins. How we're going to do that is you and I are going to alternate back and forth, taking turns. When it is your turn, you are basically considered to be the attacker. Right? So the start of turn phase happens and you become the attacker when it's your turn. Right? Next we move to the action phase. Now the action phase is where 95% of the game is spent going back and forth. Okay? So what's going to happen at the beginning of the action phase is you, as the attacker, get 1 action point. This action point allows you to play a card from your hand. You can play an item. You can play a card from your hand by paying for it if it needs paid for, or you can use your hero's weapon to attack. Right? You can keep going and gaining more action points as long as you have the keyword go again, which is probably the most important thing you're ever going to hear in this game because it allows you to keep doing things. Right? So again, you're attacking back and forth. Your opponent during this phase will allow it to block, and we will go more into this as we go through the video. But that's fundamentally how the turn goes. So again, the bulk of your turn is going to be spent in the action phase. We then move to the end of the turn phase, where a couple of very important things happen. One, you have the option to fill your arsenal. If it is empty, you can take any card from your hand and place it in there. Only cards can be played from our arsenal, so there's a lot of strategy actually involved in that, and we'll talk about that in future videos. Next, all of the cards that have been played go to the discard zone. Okay, anything played goes to be discarded, goes to the graveyard. It's done to you, it's dead to you, it's gone for the rest of the game, unless you can, of course, somehow pull it back. Okay. Next, all of your unused resources, anything that you pitched but didn't pay for, is lost. Then, all of the pitched cards, the ones that you use to gain resources, actually go on the bottom of your deck, which is cool because it means these cards are available to you later. So pitching a card doesn't burn it, only playing it does. Okay, and we'll go into that as well. And then, finally, you're going to draw up to your hand size, which remember is the intelligence of your hero. All right, so that's the basic turn sequence. What we'll do is we'll go into a couple turns going back and forth. We're going to start as the attacker and then go through a defense phase and then go back to the attacker. So I want to go through 3 turns just real quick. As we go through this, please note down any questions and feel free to ask those in the video below, and I will do my best to answer them. Again, I want to be very clear. This video in no way is meant to replace the incredible Learn to Play video that Fab already has, and that link will be supplied, right? It's on the Legend Story Studios website. It's great. I also want to point out a whole bunch of resources. While I hope I didn't sound too negative about their rulebook, because again, it's very competitive focused, and that's what it has to be, it does kind of require you for a lot of card clarifications to go to other places. They have release notes, which are also on the rules and policies portion of their website, which you should also look into, which helps clarify a lot of cards. But again, if you're just anxious like me to just go right into it, check this next thing out. And again, let me know if there's anything you have questions with, and we'll try to resolve those. Thank you for watching.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Learn to Play for Dum-Dums here on Dice Commando. Today what we're going to do is we're going to look at a sample game, play a couple turns. So we are going to be playing today as Dorinthia. So we start the game not only with her weapon in play, but also with full equipment, as you can see here on the board, and then our deck over on the right. Now we are, of course, using a playmat layout like you would see. You may not have the layout itself, but this is how the board sort of lays out to just make everything nice and straightforward. Okay. Also today we will be going first, meaning that we're going to be starting as the attacker. All right. So at the start of the game, both players draw a full hand up to their warrior's intelligence. Now right now I'd say hero's intelligence. Right now all heroes have intelligence of 4, so we'll be drawing 4 cards into our hand. So what we can see is we drew Nather's Past Pilgrimage, that is a 1 pitch, an Energy Potion, which is a 3 pitch, a Sharpened Steel, which is also a 3 pitch, and then Stroke of Foresight, which is yellow, for a 2 pitch. So before we start into the turn, let's look at each card individually. So Nature's Path Pilgrimage is a 1 cost. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +3 attack, and if this hits and you have no cards in your arsenal, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an action, put it face down into your arsenal and then go again. That all-important keyword that means that you gain another action point. Right, the energy potion itself is a 0 cost, and it has instant destroy energy potion, gain 2 energy, which is great, but remember it costs us an action point to put that into play, so we are actually going to probably sit on that for the first round of the game. Next is Sharpened Steel. Your next weapon attack this turn gains 1 attack, go again. Okay, so this one's very important for us playing Dorinthia because we want to make sure that Dawnblade can hit so that it can hopefully start gaining those counters and getting stronger. And then lastly, we have Stroke of Foresight. Target weapon attack gains +2 attack, and then reprise. If the defending hero has defended with a card from their hand this chain link, draw a card, then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck. So remember, a chain link is each individual set of attacks separated by a go again. All right, so let's go ahead and, like I said, Sharpened Steel is a very good one for us because we want to be hitting with Dawnblade. So what we're going to do is we're going to play Sharpened Steel, paying its cost. Now, Sharpened Steel is a 0 cost, which means that we do not have to pitch anything. And in fact, we're not allowed to pitch anything because you can only pitch when paying a cost. So because this is 0, this enters as link 1. It then has go again. All right, so we will now attack with our weapon, Dawnblade. And you see here it says, once per turn action, pay 1 energy, attack. So now we're going to have to pitch a card to pay this cost. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our energy potion, which pitches for 3. We are going to put that into our pitch zone, generating 3 resources, one of which is being consumed by the Dawnblade. So that leaves us with 2 remaining, and then the 2 cards left in our hand. Alright, so we are now attacking with Dawnblade, which has 3 attack, and remember the Sharpened Steel has also given it a bonus, which means it is now worth 4 attack. Our opponent responds by defending with 2 cards from their hand. Now remember, defending with cards costs them nothing, so they laid down Scar for a Scar for 2, and then Scour the Battlefield defending 2. So currently, we are tied at 4 and 4. Alright, now what we have done is we've gone through our combat. We attacked, they had a chance to defend, and now we move to the reaction phase. Luckily, we do have a warrior attack reaction, Stroke of Foresight, in our hand. So for the cost of 1, we can now add this to our attack and helpfully buff our weapon. And what we actually see is that if we add Stroke of Foresight down, it will target weapon attack, gains +2 attack, which actually makes us worth 6. However, it costs 1 to do that, so we will have, in the end, 1 remaining, and we will have a total of 6 attack. So what we'll end up seeing is 6 minus 4 will equal a 2-hit damage. So our weapon hit. Now with Dorinthia, we can attack with this weapon again this turn. However, we have a problem. We do not have go again, which means that this will end our turn. We no longer have any action points, so this will end our action phase. Now what happens is the weapon goes back. All played cards go to the discard. We can now, before the end of the round, before the end of the turn, we can put Nature's Path Pilgrimage in the arsenal for future play. Our arsenal was empty, so what we will do instead is put this down so that we can play it in the future. And then all of our pitch cards will go back to the bottom of our deck. To end our turn, the active player, so us only, our opponent does not draw, only the attacker, right, the active player draws up to the hand maximum, in this case being 4. And you can see that we just drew Driving Blade, Warrior's Valor, Biting Blade, and another Stroke of Foresight, although this is the 1-pitch version. Alright, so now we are moving into our opponent's turn, which means that we will be focusing on defending. So what we are looking at right now is what we are caring about directly for this time is the defense value on our cards. It actually just so happens that all of our cards have a defense value of 3. Right. So our opponent then comes at us with the action card, Drone of Brutality, which is bringing 6 attack to the table. So what we are going to do is we are going to play a card from our hand to defend, and we are also going to use one of our equipment to defend, our Iron Root Gauntlets, and we're going to use Biting Blade. This has generated a total of 4. Right? So Biting Blade brings 3, Iron Root Gauntlet brings 4, our opponent is attacking with 6, which means, of course, that we will take a 2 damage hit. Our opponent will, or our hero will go from 40 down to 38. Okay, having effectively taken 2 damage. All right. So this leaves us with 3 cards in our hand, and the reason we didn't want to just throw everything at it to block is because, remember, we do not draw during our opponent's turn. So if we go into our turn with no cards in hand, it becomes not only difficult, but sometimes impossible to actually make an attack of our own. So we have to make sure that we hold enough stuff back that we can actually attack our opponent. Okay? Now, they are done with their turn, so we move to the end step. Played cards go to discard, and then we look at Iron Root Gauntlet. It says Blade Break. If you defend with this, destroy it when the combat chain closes. So Iron Root Gauntlets are actually destroyed, and they leave play going to the discard pile. Alright, so now we will move into our own turn again. We are now the attacker again with 3 cards in our hand. We have Driving Blade. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +1 attack and go again. Alright, now that is very, very, very important for Dorinthia's weapon, because what we want to be able to do ideally is attack twice with it per turn. However, that costs 2. And then Stroke of Foresight, which of course is our attack reaction. Target weapon attack gains +3. We then have Warrior's Valor. Your next weapon attack this turn gains +2 attack, and if this hits, it gains go again. Go again. Alright, so what we're going to do is we are going to play Warrior's Valor, which costs 1. We're going to pitch Driving Blade to generate 3, one of which will pay for Warrior's Valor. This will then allow us to use the Go Again on Warrior's Valor to create Chain Link 2 and attack with Dawnblade, which again costs us 1. So ultimately what we are left with is 1 remaining, and we have 2 Chain Links attacking with the Dawnblade. So now we are in the middle of our turn, our opponent is about to defend, and what do you think will happen next? We have an attack reaction. We also have a card that we can play from our arsenal that can perhaps buff. What would you do in this case? Thank you for watching the Dice Commando Learn to Play. This has only been a couple turns back and forth, but I hope it gave a good window into how the gameplay actually goes on a case-by-case basis. Thank you very much for watching Dice Commando.